The United States needs, in order to have credibility in Latin America, needs to put its money where its mouth is.
Since the Obama administration's controversial decisions to support the Honduran elections, open up military bases in Colombia and Panama, and deploy thousands of troops to Haiti, the Trinidad and Tobago promise President Obama pledged would welcome a new multilateral engagement with Latin America has lost value, which is why experts say America's top diplomat has embarked on a tour throughout Latin America to mend the administration's tarnished image and regain credibility among skeptical leaders throughout the region. The State Department said Clinton's objectives on the trip included competitiveness with social equality and justice, public security vis-a-vis Iran's emerging influence, and U.S. partnerships with regional countries on issues dealing with democratic governance.
Leaving a lot of Latin American countries skeptical about the U.S. involvement in issues like democratic reform or governance. And so I'm just wondering, how is Secretary Clinton going to reaffirm a more genuine kind of commitment to Latin America as President Obama promised last year during the Trinidad and Tobago summit?
What she'll emphasize is that this is a partnership based on shared challenges, but also it's something that involves responsibility on both sides.
However, regional leaders are growing more cautious over the U.S. role throughout the region. During an annual Latin American and Caribbean summit last week, a new regional bloc was formed excluding the United States and Canada. Latin American leaders said the new bloc would counter the Washington-based Organization of American States, which they believe has been prioritizing U.S. interests over the rest of the continent.
Countries in Latin America that have elected progressive governments in the last decade, their goal is to have a multipolar world, and the U.S. wants to keep a single polar world.
Clinton's tour throughout the Americas includes visits to Chile, Argentina, Brazil, Costa Rica, and Guatemala, where some analysts predict she will announce plans to improve relations with leftist governments that have been very critical of the United States for its negative influence and involvement in the region. Clinton is also expected to continue her worldwide lobbying effort to initiate so-called crippling sanctions against Iran during her meeting with Brazilian President Lula. Simón Bolívar is still praised as the liberator of Latin America, and as the continent gears up to celebrate 200 years of independence, in a way, a majority of the Latin American states are still struggling to liberate themselves from North America's strong political and economic influence. Experts say this transition has been in motion for nearly a decade, where U.S. influence has declined substantially. And under the Obama administration, a majority of those states are strengthening their alliance to shake off decades of U.S. dominance. Jahan Hafiz.